With over 500,000 trees and shrubs already planted and growing, it's easy to forget you are in the city. We don't just say, we do. It's the Stain City way.
Hello and welcome to SABC3 Real Live. You with Real Talk with Anele, where the stage is yours. So every year has got its buzzword on how you can make money, how you can be a property owner. The buzzword for 2018 is clearly property Stokvels. Yes, property Stokvels. Today on the show, we find out about the pros, the cons, how do you get in, how do you get out if you need to, and how much money are you going to need? How do you know if you're not being taken for a ride? Sit tight, because later on in the show, we have a whole host of experts to talk about investing in residential and commercial properties using crowdfunding. So it was also a big weekend for our film and television industry. The 12th annual South African Film and Television Awards were held at Sun City. Philippe, our entertainment blogger, is here and he has got all the details. Okay, isn't it? Oh, wow. Why are you so strict?
No, because you're talking about property owners and then we come to the broke people.
Oh, the entertainers. Yes. We're all in here.
Yes.
Okay, but wait, with the SAFTAs 12, is it a thumbs up or is it a thumbs down from you?
You know what? A lot of people are going to kill me for this, but I think it's a thumbs up. You know, given where we come from to where we are right now, I think there's a lot to be, you know, optimistic about. The show wasn't as bad as the previous years, so I'd say it's a thumbs up.
I went to the ones last year and I thought that show was amazing. What's wrong?
That show was a mess. Okay, look,
Clearly, I'm not difficult to please.
Every year we complain about the same thing. We complain about the sound. We complain about the people that either people don't rehearse before they come on stage to present, or there's something that goes on. Like there's always these ridiculous glitches that could easily be fixed by just paying attention and people rehearsing. And then the other issue that I always have every year is politicians giving long speeches in between, which just dampens the whole thing and whatever. This year we had none of that. We had very few glitches. Sound issues were there, but I can tell you this, sitting at home watching on television, I didn't feel it, but people who were in Sun City are saying that in the auditorium there was an issue with sound. But us watching it from home, we didn't get that.
I felt like the stage was a little smaller this year.
Yeah, look, yes, and I understand why that is. In shooting, because there were very few celebrities there, yeah, there were very few known faces.
Why is that?
I think because the glamour of the SAFTAs has eroded in some way. And the other thing is that the resources are limited. So those days of getting invitations with accommodation and transport are
over.
So gone.
All right.
So a lot of people who were not invited, so maybe when they were planning to shoot the thing, they had that in mind, that if you keep it smaller, you work in television, you know that if you keep it smaller, you're able to cheat certain things.
Okay, and also the celebrities that were there were naturally nominated and people weren't just going.
Exactly.
You know, to have a night at the Oscars done. There wasn't that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which for me, look, I watched the red carpet, for instance. The 30 minutes of the show was the red carpet moment and whatever, right?
Who was it hosted by?
It was hosted by Urori and Kuli Roberts. They did a phenomenal job. I'm not going to, dog them for that. However, me sitting at home watching this, when they were saying that there's a red carpet preempting the thingy, the actual ceremony, I'm expecting beautiful gowns. I'm expecting questions to the nominees and stuff like that. And there were stuff like that. Nomzamo looked amazing.
Yeah.
However,
Valente looked amazing.
Looked amazing. However, we never got to see those interviews and got to see those people being interviewed on air, because what they did is that during that 30 minutes, they spent most of their time interviewing CEOs and all of that. And I'm like, what are we doing?
Phil, sorry, you can't win all the time. You don't want them to be on stage giving tedious speeches.
Yes.
You don't want them on the red carpet. They're putting money into it.
Let me tell you where I want them. Let me tell you where I want them. The SABC or the NAVF should have a sister show that would air on a Thursday, a special, where they can call it Build Up to the SAFTAs.
Okay.
And then have those speeches there. Because believe you me, if you are telling me that this is the red carpet moment, I tune in, I want to see beautiful clothes.
I want Bonang. I want
yes.
to see.
Do you know what I mean?
Nomsamo.
I don't want the CEO of
Moiti.
McDonald's sitting there telling me about how much money he paid
Okay.
to be there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear it. You're not loving it.
Yeah, I'm not loving it.
All right, let's talk about, apparently there was a Sarafina reincarnation.
Yeah, beautiful moment. It was a bit spoiled because of the timing. The presenters didn't time their jokes right, so there was a bit of a timing moment there before Lilith came out. But you know what? She made it work. She came out wearing the Mandela suit and made that awesome speech, and the whole house just, you know, erupted.
Yeah.
And you know, it's moments like that for me as a TV fan. For me, it's because I'm a viewer first. I always tell people that you know what? I'm a fan of the industry first, and I'm a viewer first before I'm anything else. So when I see moments like that, I'm like, yes, that's a TV moment, and I know that a lot of people watching would appreciate that.
Let's discuss the host.
Yeah. The host, look, Thando Tabete, she's proven that she's a competent a host. Fat Joe, you can never go wrong with Fat Joe. I mean,
how were they together?
Honestly, I like the chemistry between Thando and Katlego. This time around, the chemistry for me didn't work, just for me, but I saw Fat Joe was trending. So I don't know. For me, the chemistry didn't work. I wish they'd paired Thando with somebody else. Because you see, Fat Joe is like Usomizi. Do you understand? They're such big personalities that when you pair them with somebody who's a little, you know, more quieter than they are, the balance is kind of like, you know, off.
But perhaps Katlego isn't risque enough and Fat Joe is.
Exactly. You know, look, like I'm saying, it's a matter of pairing people, pairing the right people. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, you know?
You know, we can sit here and talk about it, but I want to see the Sarafina reincarnation myself. People were saying KB was off key. She
Look, let me tell you this. I also got stories saying that KB was furious because there was issues with sound and whatever. I'm not seeing that. Even when I was watching at home, I didn't see that. So I thought maybe I missed it. I don't know. That sounds okay to me.
Oh, and then correct me if I'm wrong, but is Somizi becoming the Beyonce of South Africa where an award show can't happen without him on stage?
I love Somizi, but yeah. Moving on.
All right, what else do you want to tell us about them?
Lifetime Achievement Awards. There was a beautiful moment when Johan Stemmet and Umama, I forgot what her name is, Togo Nchinga, were honored for their amazing work in the industry. I thought that was a poignant moment because you need to understand that for a lot of the time, when we honor our legends, it's when they are not here anymore. You know, and I know what it means. I mean, having been around like Umam Koni, for instance, Koni Chuem, and hearing her say, you know what, the fact that you guys care about what I do and who I am now while I'm here means a lot to me. So I can imagine that moment for Umam Togo and Mr. Stemmet.
Johan is the guy from Noord for Noord.
Noord for Noord, I think they're in their 40th season or something like that. The longest running television show in South Africa.
Yeah.
He is one of the richest people that I know in the industry.
Phil is so spicy. So listen, what was your favorite SAFTA moment? Was it the Sarafina opening that we just played for you? Was it the glitz and the glamour of the red carpet that Phil says was non-existent? Was it an acceptance speech? For instance, everyone is speaking about Lerato Kganyako and how she was quite emotional in her acceptance speech. Or was it Ingleba getting 6 nods of approval? Tweet us or send us your WhatsApp voice note. We will continue with this SAFTA breakdown after the break. Welcome back. If you have just tuned in, I'm hanging out with the babes. We're entertainment, film Pela. And we're, of course, looking back at the biggest night of film and television in South Africa. The SAFTA is happening this past Saturday. So, off the bat,
yes.
Training essay, you've never understood why you'd nominate a panel.
Exactly, that's what we talk about.
One person in a panel to win, and then she wins.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very hard to talk about this win because, like, I don't want to take anything away from Upabi.
Yeah.
But again, like we talked about during the nominations episode that we did, the fact that you will take one person from a panel, nominate them for best talk show from a panel talk show, and then she wins, like, and the fact that she was announcing herself.
I don't get that. What do you mean she announced herself?
She was the announcer at the awards.
Voice of God.
Yeah, the voiceover. So she was announcing the nominees, and then she came because she won, and then she presented an award. That's one of the things that we forgot to talk about earlier on, about the thing you're going to say. They need to start inviting more people. There are lots of people in the industry to come and present.
Yeah.
Because you had the same people doing 3 or 4 things in the night and became a bit redundant. But yeah, let's move on.
Okay, but congratulations to her.
Congratulations to Pabi. This has got nothing to do with you, Pabi. It's just, you know, the logistics of this does not make sense to me.
All right, so easily one of the biggest awards of the night, voted for by the audience. Lerato Kganyako walking away with Best TV Presenter.
Oh man, I think, you know, and I understand why this moment for her was very poignant. This is a girl who's worked very hard. If you've heard her story, she's worked very hard, and she's had it very hard in the industry as well, because people have not been giving her, you know,
they haven't been kind.
Easy ride. They haven't been kind. I think that's actually the proper word for it. So, and her acceptance speech, like, just said it all. You can see that this girl was waiting for this moment, and it happened for her.
You know, I was so jealous of her acceptance speech. It was emotional, but so composed, and she was so clear. And it was, and the way she was clear, they gave her longer to speak.
Yeah, no, of course. And she had a moment to prepare. Remember, throughout the week, it was showing that she had the most vote, and it was by like a huge margin. So there was no way that somebody else was going to come up and surpass that. So I think in a way she prepared for it, for that moment, because she knew that it was coming, and and she did a great job.
And you know, because she's been living in the shadow of the other it girls. Now finally she's done her own space.
I don't think in the past year she has been living in the shadow, because
I mean, when she got to Metro,
she hasn't been. But I mean, social media, I mean, like, if you want to talk about bullying in this country on social media, that girl understands what bullying is. Do you know what I mean? I mean, people would go in on her, and to see her have that moment, I mean, for me, I was touched. You know, I was like, good for you.
I loved it. I absolutely, like I said, I was jealous of her speech. I was like, oh my word, look at you, so poised.
Yeah.
Speaking of social media bullying, Ingleba.
Yeah, man. Ingleba, the biggest winner in terms of the film categories at the Summers, winning, I think, about six awards, and best feature. Can I be honest?
Yes.
I understand that he was shortlisted for the Oscars, and this is a very, very, very well-deserved award. But I think they gave it an easy run. I wish that they had nominated somebody else within those 6, like Beyond the River. Because what that does for the industry... But
Via was nominated, and Via was very
exactly
good.
Do you know what I mean? Because what happens is that if you just have, okay, this person has had the most buzz in the year, and you bombard them with all the awards, it loses that tension, because we were all sitting there thinking, okay, of course Ingleba is going to win.
I think it had worthy competition. I did think that they were, because thespians choose who wins, and thespians were the ones who were attacked by the film board, saying no to Ingleba and taking it off the movies. So I knew that thespians were going to make a point and reward it. But isn't it nice to reward something that's worthy?
It's absolutely nice. You know, sometimes I have to play the devil's advocate. That's what I'm saying. That
sometimes
that night when you have to say Ingleba, it can be a bit of, oh, okay, we know it's coming, we know it's coming, we know it's coming. But you know what? Congratulations to them.
So now, Kanye was not at the awards. He's currently in London. I believe he's just dropped his album. But he did record a little something special for the show because he was on here when he was going through hell, being bullied, getting the death threats. So he felt the need to record something for you.
Hi, Anele. It's me, Nakane. If you remember me, I was in the studio a few months ago trying to explain my story. I just want to thank you so much for having my back and having me have a say when things were not easy during the film's process. I also just want to thank everyone else who supported the film. And I want to thank the SAFTAs for the 6 awards they gave the film. And I want to thank SAFTAs for my win as well, for Best Actor. It's still so surreal. Thank you so much to everyone who supported the film up until now.
But wait, that is not all from this family. As soon as he was announced, naturally his mother was watching because she's right here in South Africa, and she sent him a voice note. Have a listen to this excitement.
After I'm so proud of you. You deserve this.
Oh my God, that's the best cheer ever. I want a mother like that. So listen, I want to say something very quickly about Ingleba. Thank you to South Africans because even after what happened with Ingleba, Ingleba performed very well at the box office. I mean, it had limited screens. I think the most they had was about 10 when they returned, but they still kept the momentum. And if you compare it to like other local films that were running at the same time when it returned, it was actually faring better than your Catching Feelings and all of that. So thank you, South Africa, for supporting Ingleba, and yeah.
Quickly, Thuso Mbedu, nominated for an international Emmy, didn't win the Emmy, she wins the SAFTA.
Yes, good moment for her as well, and I heard that she finally might be getting a job, but remember, after she got nominated for an Emmy, the girl complained that she hadn't worked for 3 months, and since then she had not even gotten work. So there's the mamas in the industry that's saying that she might be joining Generations. Ideally, I wouldn't want her to go to soapies. I think she's above soapies now, but hey, somebody, she has to pay her thingy.
Why don't you want her to be in Generations?
Because I feel like in South Africa we need that distinction between soapy TV
and
like
series.
and series, because like the same people that you see in films are the same people that you see in soapy. There's no distinction of
But isn't that an international trend?
Not particularly. I mean, look, here's the thing. As much as you're gonna see Viola Davis on TV right now killing it and whatever, but that's a movie star. Meryl Streep is a movie star.
But Meryl is also doing a series. Everyone's going to series.
I get that, but I don't know.
What, you think we're not that big yet?
Yes, that's the thing. I think I wish, and that's why we suffer at the box office as well. I wish we could have movie stars and have these award stars, and then we have the soapy stars.
You don't rate soapy stars. That's your problem. You are a soapy snob.
Well, fair enough. I think I am.
That has to come to an end, but it doesn't have to happen right now.
Yes,
listen, as always, Phil, thank you so much. You did say you're coming back for the Tanusa episode. I think you might be the only guy on the show, but hey, I shall speak on your behalf. Listen, congratulations to all the winners of this year's SAFTAs. We from Real Talk absolutely salute you. A special thanks to the guy who doesn't like soapies, Phil Impela, for always bringing the scoop. Speaking of scoops, tomorrow, Minnie Dlamini Jones will be on the show. So make sure you diarize that. After the break, however, we look at a very contentious issue. Buying property through a Stokvel. Is it a good idea? What are the risks involved? And how do you know that it's not just a get-rich-quick scam? Tell your friends and family to tune in right now. And we're back. So we all know that buying property comes with all sorts of challenges. Not only is the purchase cumbersome, but it comes with extra costs, hidden costs. Then there's a deposit, then there's transfer duties, and then there's legal fees. These costs, coupled with the increasing difficulty to get a home loan, leaves a lot of South Africans without the means to own property. enter property Stokvels. Many South Africans are now promised income wealth. Joining me right now is property investor and the founder of SA Property Stokvel, who's now able to buy and sell properties banks would not ordinarily finance through crowdfunding. We also welcome Matimba Masinga, and then joining him is the CEO of BSK Marketing and Associates, Busi Skenjana, who has been working with Stokvels for over 20 years. Welcome to you, Busi, as well.
Thank you very much.
So, Matimba, you said the bank didn't want to finance your fourth property.
Yes.
What lovely problems to have, right? I was trying to finance my fourth property and the banks were saying no. So then you then decided to go the property Stokvel route.
Yes.
Can you please break it down for me?
So like I said, you know, when I went through my fourth property, I was extremely frustrated. I was still working at that point. And then I was attending a few property seminars, trying to meet like-minded people, you know. And actually I discovered that I'm not the only one. You know, there are many other property investors out there who are being rejected by banks.
But do you understand why the rejection? Were you overexposed?
Of course, I was overexposed. I mean, as an aspiring property investor or property trader, you know, my job at that point was to buy as many properties as possible at the most cheapest price as possible. And then at that point, I thought to myself, look, why not speak to other like-minded people? That's when I started attending property seminars, which were hosted all around Joburg and Pretoria. You know, I came across a lady who was as serious as I was, you know, and came across a gentleman again who was as serious as I was. We exchanged cards, exchanged numbers. A week later, we had coffee, and as they said, the rest is history.
Okay, so I now want to go back to, you know, the origins of Stokvel, and, you know, the person best to speak to is you, Busi, and you have got a magazine here that we've got with us, Stokvel Voice. So you say there are 811,000 Stokvel programs currently in the country, right? 11.4 million members and an estimated 44 billion in how much they're all worth. Who administers all of these?
No one administers that except Stokvels themselves in their individual groups wherever they are scattered throughout the country. But there isn't a body in South Africa that administers this, in the sense that Stokvels are fairly independent, you know. So they've been around for many years, like you've just said. They've got their own constitution, they've got their own goals and objectives and all that. But there is no controlling body per se that controls and administers, you know, Stokvels as a collective.
So there's no way that one needs to register it. We can just decide we're going to do a Stokvel and run with it.
Definitely, it's as informal as all that, you know, but I'm not saying that, you know, in the future we should not look into, you know, that organizational body. But Stokvels are very complex, you know. People tend to take Stokvels at face value. Remember, this is about money. People start Stokvels for various reasons, you know, simple one, you know. So once you come in there and say, I want to administer you, I want to control you, you are obviously going to be looked with suspicion. What is in it for us? What is it that you want from us?
Is this why Stokvels keep clear from banks? Because that's exactly what banks do. They'll obviously want to control that.
Yeah, they kind of keeping clear from banks, but they still do in any way put their money in the bank, they park it. You know what I mean?
So explain to me then the property Stokvel. For me, it's extremely confusing. Who owns the house? How do I get money? You know, when I do get money, who puts it in my account? If you're saying that there's no administration.
So for us, you know, firstly, we buy properties that are below market value. That's what we mean. You know, we go to auctions, we go to distressed sellers and so on and so forth. Secondly, we open a vehicle, either a company, PTY Ltd, or a trust. Now we are an official body now with an official structure. We then agree to go on an auction, or one of us goes into an auction. We buy the property in the name of the trust or in the name of the company. Once that is done, we know that we've got some sort of a structure that governs the Stokvel. Secondly, what we do is that we identify the various skills and the various expertise within the Stokvel members. For instance, one of my members is an advocate. You know, she's a lawyer, and she knows all the legal nitty-gritties. She drafts the contracts for us. She drafts the contracts that manage our Stokvel. Secondly, we have a guy who's an expert in tax. You know, this is a guy who advises whenever we receive rental income. Where does the rental income go? What is the tax implications for that rental income. Thirdly, you've got me. I'm the property investor. I've been in the property market for a very long time. I come in and advise where are the properties that we can make profit with, where are the properties that we can flip, meaning properties that
buy
we
it
can
and you renovate it
and sell.
Okay.
And sell. So there are various vehicles. But
so let's say you buy, sorry to interrupt, you buy, you renovate, you sell, and you make a profit of 200,000. Does that go back into the account, or do we split it amongst us?
Well, it depends. It depends on the material conditions at that point. You know, there are members who would come to say, look, I would want 100,000 rands from 200,000. Give me 20% in my own pocket. Let me reinvest the other amount. You know, the others would say, look, let's reinvest the entire amount.
Let's go buy another property.
Let's go buy another property, which is what we extremely encourage, so that we are able to grow the wealth. You know.
So, Busi, from your end, do you support property Stokvels?
Oh, I do. I actually belong to 2 Stokvels that are also in property.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
Yeah, geez, the one that I always brag about, I was actually invited to this Stokvel. At that point in time, I knew nothing about this thing called property investment, because I thought only super wealthy people, you know, could invest. And a friend just said, come, join us. We're buying a piece of land in Hazy View, Kruger Park Lodge. Yeah. And 10 years down the line, we had...
10 years?
Yes, down the line, actually it's almost 20 now, in that we registered ourselves as a company, because you have to be a legal entity to be able to access finance. Yes. And fortunately, unlike Matimba, we're fortunate enough, we did manage to get a bond, and we paid the property. I mean, we bought the property, we paid it off. It's actually in a holiday resort. It's a 4-star holiday resort. Yeah. So it's paid off now. So we actually just, you know, getting passive income out of that property. Yeah, the other one is me and my 3 friends. Yeah. We don't really call ourselves a Stokvel, but the mechanics are the same. In that the 3 of us, we decided, oh, here's a townhouse going up for grabs, and we look into our wallets, we said, okay, we are fine, and we went and bought that property, and we just, you know, reaping rental out of it. Now, these are models that can actually be applied by many Stokvels out there who already have cash, a lot of cash that is flowing, you know, amongst them.
And then you add, you just buy as many properties and you add to the property portfolio.
Definitely. You can actually create, grow your property portfolio, you know, be it private or commercial, you know. The key thing is just that you need to have that desire, you need to have that hunger, you know, to go into this property investment.
And ultimately patience as well.
And patience, of course. It's not a get-rich quick scheme, yeah.
But what can go wrong? Thank you so much, Busi, for that valuable insight into Stokvels. While property Stokvel makes sense as the best investment vehicle, should you be worried? And if you are, what are you worried about? After the break, we turn it up a notch. Rather, we speak to a panel who seem to be divided on this issue. Do send us your property Stokvel stories or your questions that you'd like answered via WhatsApp. The numbers on the screen. Come back to us. So it has been regarded as SA's hidden economy that is thriving. Property Stokvels have taken the South African property market by storm, with more and more people turning to them to get into the property market whilst avoiding the hassles of paying bonds. Is it a wealth revolution? Is it just a pyramid scheme? Joining in the conversation is entrepreneur Sizwe Dlomo, and back again is financial planner Gerald Mwandiyambira. I always do that for effect. Now, Matimba.
Yeah.
What happens if it collapses and we all fight? And because, you know, we get advice, don't ever buy a house with your boyfriend. If you guys are not married, don't even bother. Even if you're married, try to avoid it at all costs, buying property with someone. Now, because things can collapse. What happens if it collapses?
You sell the property and get your money back. That's as simple as that.
This is hoping that you sell the property at a profit.
You will always sell a property at a profit. I mean, property is one of those assets that escalate in value. I've never seen in a property in my life that depreciates over time. You know?
So at best, you won't make a loss.
At best, you're going to make break even.
Enter Sizwe.
My question is this now: at the point where the scheme collapses, right, and nobody is obviously servicing the debt that you've amassed, what happens?
The property gets auctioned.
Guys, when you auction a property, you obviously don't get market value for it. So you make your loss.
Not in this current economy. Remember when you put controls and mechanisms for risk control, you are actually saying to the partners, should a business goes down, what happens?
Gets liquidated.
It gets liquidated like any other business.
But then during the liquidation, people get like 30 cents per rand.
It's the risk that you must put as a property investor.
Okay,
it's the risk that you must put as a property investor.
Gentlemen, the problem we have right here is that the property market in South Africa has grown by 8% in the last... In fact, it's been flat since 2008, I lie. There has been...
was nominal.
Yeah, nominal, 8%. Real terms, zero growth for the last 10 years. So that's one problem. The other problem we do face is that Stokvel is about knowing each other, Ubuntu, people getting together. And what
so it's run on trust.
Yes, it's all about trust and relationship. And what Busi was talking about, you can't go into a Stokvel with strangers.
Yeah, especially a property one.
Especially a property, as you said, you know, getting married to someone is enough of a challenge, never mind with a bunch of strangers. So we need to be careful in that. One, we need to protect the Stokvel name. Because a lot of people call themselves Stokvels, but they're not a Stokvel. If you're not on the internet talking to someone you don't know, it is not a Stokvel. They can call themselves whatever they want. And those are some of the things which are damaging what is something that is pure and works. On a small scale, it does work. You can buy properties. The whole group can benefit. What we're getting is that we're confusing the whole Stokvel ethos with crowdfunding and syndicated finance. That's deep stuff. He's got lawyers, he's got accountants. Because once you start talking proper property in terms of the scale which is required, it's much more complex.
So the first time we had this debate and this conversation, I was having it with Sizwe, and this is why I said he must also come on today. Sizwe, what are you so vehemently against when it comes to property Stokvels? What are the warning flags?
So it's exactly what Gerald has mentioned. Let me start off by saying there's a social element to this discussion, right? I cannot sit here and say I don't see the value of Stokvels in general. Of course I do, right? Majority of our people are marginalized, especially in the economy. They're not able to partake in it as well as they should. And that's why they come up with solutions that they come up with, such as a Stokvel. But there's a very big difference between a Stokvel to buy food, a Stokvel, for example, and now going to buy property. The probability of those withdrawals coming all at the same time is next to like 3%. Not everybody's going to die at the same time there. So the risk of you guys running illiquid is fairly low. Right? Same thing with food. You're taking advantage of economies of scale there. When you go and you buy your food in bulk at macro, for example, then there's something to be said for that. It's also short term, it's fixed. In a year, you dissolve everything and you start afresh. Once you start talking about property, and the way that people have been explaining it, I'm not saying what Mtimba is saying, I'm not saying what Mbusi was saying. The way that people are explaining it, they're asking for everybody to just come in. And it's no different than a pyramid scheme at that point. If you don't know what N is, and by N I mean the number of people that are participating in a Stokvel, it's not a Stokvel. If you don't know what the term is, it's also not a Stokvel. Because it could run over for 1,000 years. And then the person who's 800 on the list, for example, when do they get their property? And while they're waiting, the rent that they're paying, where are they living? Because you need people with disposable income to be able to do that. And I think if you're just saying, get a house that you can live in, where am I going to get this money while I'm waiting for the house to be built and bought?
And I think what Sizwe is also explaining is a fundamental problem with investment, in that many people go into investment without a goal. You need a purpose. If you want to buy a property, how many properties, where, when do we get out? Many Stokvels are just saving perpetually with no real goal. So rule number one in the constitution of every Stokvel should be set written goals that, you know, when we've achieved this, we're all out. When we're all married as single women, we are all out. Because now you're inviting husbands into the equation. And the moment the first person gets a divorce, you get community of property, division of assets. Now it becomes a real issue in that who owns the piece of the property. You know how we fight about Gogo's house in terms of saying that there's a beneficial ownership, generational. It's the same thing with the Stokvel.
Okay,
because
Gerald and Sizwe, now that you guys have burst the honeymoon, can Matimba please come back and say something?
Okay, firstly, one of the key fundamental principles of our Stokvel, by the way, is education, you know. So we will not allow you to invest into our Stokvel without having understanding the property market as a whole, the risks, the benefit, you know, how you reach break-even point, how you reach ROI, what a yield is.
Return on investment.
Return on investment.
There's no jargon here, we don't know.
Return on investment. So before we even accept you to be a member of our Stokvel, we insist that you go on a property investment course 101.
So do you accept people you don't know?
No, we don't.
Because I went on a website today for a property stock and there's a form there, they're asking for bank details and all of that.
No,
so that's not how you guys do it.
We will not accept a member who we have not screened thoroughly, a member who we have not sat down with and understood his financial background, his ability to understand the property market in general and investment in particular, you know. Because it's like investing in any other business. I would not recommend for anyone to invest in any other business without understanding it. It's taking
so you
money.
can agree with what Sizwe was saying, that if there are 1,000 people you're giving money, that's not the one to go into.
100%. I agree with you 100%. The most interesting part about the Stokvel is that you have to get intimate with the members. You have to understand their philosophy, their investment philosophy, and why are they in the Stokvel. You know, once you understand that, you are able to invest with them. But most importantly, running a business with anyone is about trust. You know, if you are unable to trust the person that you're working with, then you might as well close shop. So in our Stokvel, we insist on a face-to-face interaction, first of all. Secondly...
And how long, what's the screening process? Because you say you screen me vigorously. How long before I become one of yours?
So like I said, what we firstly do is that we insist that you come to one of our property investment courses. You know, there we take you through property Stokvel. I
just want to know, how long is the process from when you and I meet to when I can become in the Stokvel?
The process can take anything between the first month to 3 months.
Okay.
You know?
All right. I just want to take an ad break. We'll be back. Listen, there's lots of maths being thrown around here, and I want to do a little bit more. When we return, we crunch the numbers. Are you putting in more money than you're getting out, and who stands to benefit from the property Stokvels? Your voice notes are noted. They are received. They'll be played. The panel is going to answer everything for you when we come back from the ad break. So property Stokvels are so popular that even the former Orlando Pirates striker Lennox Bagcela says he would like to help footballers to invest in property and will launch the property investment scheme later this year. Today we've got Matimba, who is part of a property Stokvel. Sizwe is in here as an entrepreneur and somebody who's quite learned in this, and obviously our resident financial guy, Gerald. Gerald, when you came in here, I thought you were for Stokvels, and now you sound like you're against them.
No. Anele, I'm very much for Stokvels. Stokvels help us to create wealth. Every large financial institution started out as a Stokvel. So there's absolutely value in Stokvels. All I want our viewers to understand is that we need to protect certain things. And the sanctity of a Stokvel is that it's a group of people who know each other and they trust each other and they build together, okay? So like-minded people. My problem really is around crowdfunding and other institutions calling themselves Stokvels. And that's where I jealously guard it, because Stokvels have created wealth for many families, and we need to keep it going.
What could go wrong?
By the way, the concept of the Stokvel is not new, you know. I mean, you've had the likes of Old Mutual, Sanlams, and ABSA.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong is that you could have a member who passes away without having taken proper precautions, such as insurance, to protect other members of the Stokvel.
So leaving you exposed?
Yes. You could have a member who decides all of a sudden that they want to pull out for no reason, and then that could leave you exposed as well. You could have a member who then decides that, look, the return on investment that he's getting is not enough, you know. But there are always precautions that you could put into that, you know.
What are those precautions, Sizwe?
Now, the precautions are, me personally, you always want to minimize your risk. So essentially, what you're talking about in the property Stokvel is like chaining yourself together and then jumping overboard into a pool. You're hoping everybody can swim. The moment one person can't swim, you're all drowning. So what do I want to do? I want to swim by myself. That's why I prefer, for these kind of investments, to go into it by myself. I understand, though, that I'm speaking from a position of privilege because I'm able to do that by myself, right? But even if you take a look at the numbers and you crunch them out and you go, okay, look, if you were to divide the number of, let's call it deposits that people are putting in there, and then you annuitize it and you also compare it to the returns that people are getting in it. Because even if you got a property, let's say you're getting 10,000 Rand per month from the property, it's 10,000 Rand divided by N, N being the number of people that are in it, right? Eventually you realize that if you were just saving that money by yourself, you'd be able to buy your own property interest-free in 8 years.
Caesar, the challenge here is that people are not chaining themselves together and jumping and hoping for the best. Sometimes that is how people learn. We must realize that.
Yeah, but learning in a failed property is a very expensive lesson.
It's an expensive lesson.
It's a very expensive lesson.
That is how we
and
understand.
one that people who can't afford.
Is key component of financial education.
Yeah.
So we're not saying everyone must go into property. It's like-minded people. You must understand what you're doing because you have to be an adult making a decision. However, people learn within the Stokvel. Normally, many Stokvels nominate different people to learn certain topics and they educate the group. Yes, you don't want to go into an expensive property without having any experience. But as Sizwe is saying,
please let Matimba so we can go for
our auntie can put 200 rand together. You 200 rand times 1,000, you can get a property. With 200 rand, you'll never get onto the property ladder in any case.
I mean, for me, the whole concept of the Stokvel allows you to really put resources together. You might not make the sufficient profit within the first property, but if you are able to buy the second and the third and bring long-term wealth, you will be able to split that amount accordingly. And you know, it has shown that you make in property, you make a profit when you buy and not when you sell. It depends where you buy the property, how you buy the property. For me, for instance, I never buy properties that are above market value. I always buy below market value. I go to auctions, I go to sheriff auctions, I buy distressed properties. Those are properties that are way below market value, meaning that I'm already buying a property at a profit before I even go into the market.
And I think what people need to understand is that a property has two components, capital appreciation and income. Income in the form of rental income. Capital appreciation is the value of the property going up over time. When you go into your property, understand which one you're targeting. You can't have both.
We're out of time. Guys, thank you for this. Much like Bitcoin, I'm none the wiser. I'm joking. I get it now. Listen, before joining a property Stokvel, make sure you do your homework. Do your research, ask the tough questions, and if you feel like it's too good to be true, it probably is. Thank you to our guests, Matimba Masinga, Busi, Skenjana, Gerald, as well as Sizwe, and listen to me saying Dr. Phil Impella for coming through. So listen, later on this week, Tanusa Mazai Kingta, she'll be celebrating her 42nd birthday at the end of the month, and she's invited all her friends and her sisters to do a woman-only gig celebrating their resilience and strength. Now, another group that does impeccable work such like this is People Opposing Women's Abuse, and we caught up with them, just obviously in celebration of this time to find out what it is that they're about.
I've been an activist for nearly 2 decades. I did my training through Power People Opposing Women Abuse, and now I sit as a director on the board. Abuse in our country is a serious issue, and it's really sad that it's gotten to the point where we actually need to print a publication to prove to people on the atrocities and the level that abuse is. I think it's quite apt that it's raining today. Number one, in my religion, it's known as a mitzvah, which is a blessing, so it's raining down on this publication. The weather and the rain and the cloudy skies represent what a lot of women go through every single day, 365 days of the year. And we need to highlight these issues and also understand that any form of abuse is abuse in itself. And so whether it's rape, whether it's emotional abuse, whether it's financial abuse, it all needs to be put under the same light. You know, people are saying, well, she got raped because of what she was wearing. She got raped because she shouldn't have been out drinking. She got raped because she couldn't keep her mouth closed. She got raped because he's a rapist. The sooner we start shifting the blame away from the survivors and actually onto the perpetrators, I think we'd have a more harmonious society. We also need a louder voice and stronger voice from the African male. We need to stop hiding behind traditional values and so-called cultural values, because nowhere in any tradition does it say we're supposed to be hurting our mothers, our daughters, our grandmothers.
I am a business unit director for the PR arm at Joe Public United. We've created a plan in order to bring awareness to the issue of domestic violence, to sexual violence. We need to look at the kind of men we are raising. We need to look at how women interact with men. We need to look at how we're raising our girls. We need to look at methods and means of empowering future generations of women. So POA has amazing facilities and resources, and they are available. I mean, you can get in touch with them through their website. POA in itself provides counseling, they provide legal help, they provide shelter, they provide you with the resources that you need.
I'm just seeing most of men are just abusing women. Nowadays, we see women are not free at home. Even the children, those women must depend on us. We must always protect them.
From myself and the rest of the team, have yourself a lovely evening. We'll see you tomorrow evening. Minnie Dlamini Jones will be on your screens, and we'll also be discussing if society is placing way too much pressure on women and men to get married. Right now, we didn't get to your voice notes about property Stokvel. I do hope that the answers did come up in the debate that was happening, but if you jump onto the Facebook page, Real Talk on 3, the 2 questions will be answered. There were a lot of questions coming in. We're going to pick 2, and the panel is going to carry on over there and answer all your questions. Right now, Isitingo's up next. We'll check you out tomorrow. Bye-bye.